Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a new video. I'm hoping this is going to be a very exciting one where by the end of it, I'm sipping a mojito, sitting in the splash pool. But there's a lot to do before I get to that point, including filling up all my IBC tanks, emptying the water tank, and watering all my trees. And Mikey and I actually already did that this morning. So we'll start the video with a little tour around my land to all the trees, along with the cats, and then we'll get into the work soon after. Are you following me? Okay, the tank is empty, the trees are happy, the cat is happy, I'm happy because the wind has died down, and I'm excited to push forward with the work in the tank. This morning, I'm going to be applying the first layer of waterproofing stuff. It gets mixed 50-50 with cement, and you're basically using this stuff instead of water, and it gives it some kind of super powerful waterproofing abilities. But first, I have to scrub the tank and try to get out as much dust and little things as I possibly can before I apply this waterproofing membrane thing. So let's get scrubbing and then move on to the next stage. So I'm not sure if I trust my work enough to bring out the wire brush. The tank looks overall really good, but let me actually show you a few worrisome things. So as you can see by the undulating finish, I'm definitely an amateur. I'm not so worried about that. I'm not even worried about sections like this that are kind of porous, because this final coat isn't meant to be the waterproofing coat. It's just for aesthetics. But obviously I'd prefer if I didn't have those little holes there. I've also got some very small cracks along where the seating area is. And then on the floor, I had some sections sort of bubble up. I think it's because I watered the bottom a bit too prematurely, and it got under there. So I ended up scraping it up with a trowel, which has left kind of a weird finish in certain spots. So I'm not crazy about that. And then I've also just discovered that little hole there as well. So, you know, there's some weird things happening in here. I don't know how much the layer that I'm about to put on very soon is going to cover up these sorts of things. But I guess we'll find out soon. Now, let's hose. Okay, hosing done. I'll give it another squirt before I get started, but now I'm gonna have some breakfast and contemplate my next moves, which are probably gonna be making a shade cloth for the top of this and figuring out the mix for this thing that I have to roll on very soon. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, that was a ridiculously enormous tarp, but it's the only one I have left after putting the other ones down on the garden. So this is gonna somehow be made into my cover for my pool, at least temporarily. So I've gathered together all the things I think I'll need to get this job done. I've got my cement, which gets mixed 50-50 with this stuff. So I have a scale to measure out, this is 5 kilos. So I guess I need to measure out 5 kilos of cement. I'll put it in this bucket here. Although I'm wondering if I'll do a half a mix first and see how it goes. I've got all of my paintbrushes. I'm gonna roll it on first, but I am concerned by the fuzziness of this. I don't know if I should have gone with one that was a little less hairy. I'm afraid all of my stuff is gonna get lost in the whiskers. But it's what I have. So I've got the paintbrushes just in case I need to smooth stuff out. And I've got trowels for any emergency troweling that might have to happen. I've got a bucket for mixing, including my drill, which has fallen down, and I've set up the tarp. So it looks like I'm ready to go. My only concern is not having enough of this cement waterproofing stuff mixture. It's 5 kilos, plus I add 5 kilos of cement in there. I don't know what that's gonna end up looking like, and I have no idea how much coverage I need for the tank. So I really hope I don't run out. Yeah, I have absolutely no clue how much this is gonna take. So that's on my mind. I'm gonna start with a half a mix and then go from there. I'm thinking that perhaps it was probably a bad idea to use my kitchen scale for this. Okay, that's 1 kilo of cement into the bucket. I'm gonna do 2.5 and do a half a mix. 2 kilos. 2.5 kilos, more or less. In you go. So I have never used this stuff in my life. I did read the instructions, and it said do not store in direct sunlight, which of course I was. It also says don't apply in the sunlight, which I might be, depending on the time I get to this. So hopefully I haven't ruined everything. But you know what? I'm sure it'll be okay. I'm thinking positively. Let's measure out 2.5 kilos and get this thing on the tank. I have a feeling this is going to be very time sensitive and difficult to film, and that seems very, very lumpy to me. Let me give it a try. Okay, here we go. I have absolutely no idea what to expect. Except for like a really bad setup. This is definitely not the best place for this. Okay, so I guess I do that. I don't even really know. And let's start here, will we? Okay. Okay, this seems positive. All right, I already know this is going to be impossible to film. I feel like I'm going to be in a hurry, so I'll check in again when this thing is hopefully covered. Hopefully I have enough of this stuff, so I'll see you soon. So I'm making progress. I've only got one little bit left to do, which I'm going to finish with the paintbrush. I have, I think, the perfect amount to do 2 coats and have exactly none left. So I'm almost finished my mix, and I'm almost finished the tank as well. So that's totally by accident. So let's finish this step together with the paintbrush, and you can see kind of what I've been up to. So I used the roller for much of the tank, but then it kind of started to get all gummed up and weird. But luckily this stuff hasn't dried as quickly as I was expecting it to, so I didn't need to maybe rush as much as I thought I had to. So perhaps when I do the second coat tomorrow morning, probably, I'll film a bit of that. But the roller is completely gummed up. It doesn't really turn anymore. I might try to clean it. It's been sort of useful. But the paintbrush has been fine as well. So I'm going to finish up this little bit and then call it a night, I think. The tools are washed and I'm so happy with how this has gone. I wasn't sure what to expect, and it went on a lot easier than I thought. I missed the spot, and there's a few other spots that I can see that could use an extra coat, but luckily I have enough for coat number 2 tomorrow. So I'm gonna cover this up before the sun creeps in. It's another beautiful morning. I feel kind of like a broken record saying that constantly, but this summer really has been most excellent. Not nearly as hot as it was last year, and I'm actually enjoying it. So let's see what August holds, but so far July has been very, very nice. So let's uncover this tarp and see what it looks like under there. I'm very curious. The great reveal. Okay, so there's some interesting things happening in here. First observation is that it's a lot darker than I was expecting. I thought it would dry a bit later, but that's okay. I think when the pool paint goes over it, I'm hoping it'll be nice and light and it'll lighten everything up. We'll see. So you can see I've missed lots of spots. And the most alarming thing is the water that's on the bottom of the tank. I think there's some sort of a, I don't know, a spring situation happening maybe behind this whole tank, and it's somehow oozing in here. Which is, I guess, concerning, because if water can get in, water can also get out. So my splash pool is obviously inside a larger water tank, so it's not like I'm pumping water into a freestanding sort of vessel and hoping that it stays in there. Anything that leaks out of here is just going to go into the larger water tank. And then my idea for filling this pool section up is to have a pump running in the section behind me that's constantly flowing water through the pool and then coming at the overflow, so that water's just always moving through this pool. So in a way, that would mean that even if there is any kind of leak, it doesn't matter so much, because the pump will be constantly filling it up whenever the pool is in use. That's the idea. I think what I'm going to do today is mix up a new batch, and I'm going to put it on with a paintbrush, and I'm going to focus on the floor and on all of the seams around the tank. And then I'll see what it's doing tomorrow, and I'll make a decision about whether or not I want to go get another one of those jugs, or if I just want to go on it with the pool paint. A lot of people I know that have made splash pools just go straight in with the blue paint. So they'll render the tank, maybe put some waterproofing in the render, and they'll skip the stage that I'm doing now and go straight into the blue pool paint. And that actually acts as a waterproofer as well. So I'm leaning towards doing that, but let me get this on the floor and in the seams and on as much of the wall as I can, and then we'll see what it looks like, and I'll make a decision after I've done the work. So this looks like a pretty good spot to curl up and stay cool and hunt for the occasional passing toad. So before I get started on the pool, I have unfortunate news about this paint. I was inspired to read the instructions on how to use it, and when I did, I learned that this stuff needs only about a half hour to dry, but you're not supposed to put water over top of it for a week after it goes on. So that means that there's no chance that I'm going to be sipping a mojito in this pool this week by the end of this video. It means instead that I'll have to wait until the next video, when hopefully, nay, I'm going to promise that I will be in this pool sipping a cocktail and enjoying life. Not at the end of this video, but at the end of the next one. And I think what I'll end up doing is having a whole montage of the work so far, culminating in cocktail. So that's a little disappointing. I was really hoping to be in the pool by this week, by this video, but good things come to those who wait, and it'll just have to be delayed a little longer. One thing I'd like to do to speed up the whole process is to figure out a way to plug up the tank so that water doesn't get from this section into this section the next time I fill my tank up in a couple days. And that means that if I can do that, I can continue working on this smaller tank without having to pause for a whole other week, which means everything will be sped up just that little bit. This is the current plug for the large tank section, but it's too big for the pipe that I have for the smaller tank. I have a plastic plug on order that's designed for this sort of thing, but that probably won't arrive for a few days. So in the meantime, after I paint the bottom of this pool, I'm going to go back to my friend Sinead's place. I'm going to take my little mini chainsaw. I'm going to saw off a couple pieces of olive wood and see if I can make a plug that's going to fit this pipe hole. Okay, enough talking. Let's get this next layer of waterproofing on the tank. I don't really like this one. It kind of skips around. I feel like there's smaller ones that might be a bit better. I'm going to focus on the bottom third of the tank and any spots that I've missed. I'm going to start over here so that I don't box myself in again. Like a buffoon, all the other times I've done the floor, I've ended up basically painting myself into a corner. So, onward. So I have loads left, but I've been putting this on very thickly with the brush. So I'm not really sure why I have most of this finished and yet have loads of stuff left. It is a great mystery. I'm finding this rather enjoyable. The paintbrush is definitely my tool of choice in this case. I did find myself contorted into some weird positions earlier. Definitely impressed myself. Definitely don't want to do those things again. But I'm getting there. So I think with the leftover stuff, I'll probably end up reaching over and trying to do more of this wall here, which I might have skimped out a little bit on. Finally, I'm done. That mix seemed to go on for eternity. It just lasted and lasted, and I got loads of coverage, and it went on really thick. And so I don't really understand what happened the previous time where it seemed to go on quite thinly, and I ran out before I really finished the whole tank. So It's a great mystery. I do prefer the paintbrush to the roller, and I'm really happy with the results. I went on super thick in the areas where the water was kind of appearing mysteriously, and in the seams and on the floor. This job was weirdly enjoyable. I like things where you can kind of start and finish in a day and see your progression. So I'm happy with the results. Well, actually, I'll check it tomorrow and then I'll see if I'm happy with the results. But I like how it went on and it seems like it's going to be okay. So I need to go have a shower fairly quickly before this stuff fuses to my skin. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow where I've got a couple more things to do in the tank. And I'm really, really interested to see what this looks like tomorrow and whether there's any pooling of water in the bottom of the tank like there was today. So I'll see you then. Good morning. It's time to look under the tarp and see what's going on. I'm very curious to see how this waterproofing stuff has set. It's looking pretty good in here. Definitely a lot better than it was yesterday. The second coat has been a massive improvement. And I still have the water pooling, which is a great mystery to me. So it's totally dry, nothing's coming up on my fingers, which is good. It's sort of slippery. And the area over here where it was flaking, and it was also flaking a bit here, it looks like that layer has sealed it off. So that's really, really cool. Yeah, I am pleased. I am, as I mentioned, a little bit concerned about the dark color. I don't know if that's going to have an effect on the final pool paint layer, making it darker, or if the paint is thick enough to go over it and still have its original, hopefully nice light blue color. We'll see. But my first task for the day is to measure this exit pipe, head over to my friend Sinead's place with my mini chainsaw, and chop a piece of wood or a few pieces of wood so I can try to make a temporary plug for this thing. So that seems like an okay fit, but I'm not sure if that's gonna work because this one goes in this hole, but it's so much smaller than the actual pipe. So I wonder if I need to go smaller, and then it's the rag wrapped around the wood that sort of does the bulk of the plugging. I'm not really sure. So I'll probably whack off a little bit more of this and then wrap it in this nasty looking thing and see how it does. So I'll refine it a bit more and then check in again when I have it finished. But I did want to point out that yesterday I had a flurry of activity in the evening where I put in some more rocks with lime. So these 2 rocks went in and now they're quite sturdy, so I can build on top of them. And then over here, I've put in some of these smaller stones and I sort of prop them in place with the little stones or concrete bits so that they don't move. And now I can hopefully continue building up higher. So a little later this afternoon, I'm going to be down here finishing off these 2 spots, and I'll probably also try to do these bits as well. It is very windy out here, but I've been hard at work down in the water tank doing some pointing, and I've got my plug ready. So I've been working through what seems like this endless bucket of lime, and I've finally plugged in the holes here and also over here. I'm not completely finished. I'd like to get one in there, and then obviously there's a lot more work to do over here as well. But I'm happy with my progress. And yeah, let's keep plugging away at it. Speaking of plugs, here's what I ended up with for the plug. It'll fit in there more or less. I'll wrap it up with a tea towel, and that will be my temporary plug until the other ones arrive in the mail. I've given the interior of this tank a hose down, and it looks fairly water resistant to me. I'm gonna get this tank filling up overnight, and my hope is that by plugging it up, it's gonna hold the water in this tank, keep it out of this tank, so that tomorrow or the next day I can start painting it with pool paint. I really don't know what to expect with this. I have no idea whether my sketchy plug is going to keep the water out of that tank and held in this tank. So we'll find out tomorrow. All I can do is stick the plug in and hope for the best. I really don't think that's going to work. I can tell it's not plugging up the sides. So I'm going to try to use the super disgusting rag that seems to work with the other plug. This weird fabric was with the land when I bought it. And it's worked so far, so maybe it'll keep working miracles. Okay, that's my plug solution. I probably need to work on my plug manufacturing. I'll be very impressed if this keeps the water out, so we'll find out tomorrow. It is a stunningly beautiful evening, even though my pile of tools is quite unstunning, but you're stunning. And I have some pretty amazing news. Even though this tank is filled way above the level of the plug, this tank has remained totally dry, including all of those weird water spots that were coming up. So I'll be able to start work on this tomorrow. I will have to take that one out when I want to paint there, so I don't know if that will cause everything to flood in, but we'll find out. So tomorrow I've got a lot of pool cleaning to do, but I'm really, really excited to get this done and do some painting. So I'll see you then, and we will finish this project off and then let it dry for a week before I can get in. But it's all moving in a positive direction, and I'm really excited for work tomorrow. Good morning. It's yet another gorgeous day, as usual, but it's going to be a hot one, so I'm really anxious to get started. I've got everything that I need to get started. I've got the stuff to clean the pool, the laser level to make a line to work to, the stuff to paint. I've cleared up my workspace, and by clear up I mean moved it all over there. So I'm ready to go, but I've had a horrible realization. I'm wondering if I should have tested the blue pool paint before I went into town yesterday to buy paint thinner and a few other paint supplies. I was at the paint store, and that would have been a good opportunity to pick up sort of a white paint, not a primer, but a base layer, to go over this really, really dark waterproofing stuff. So I probably should have tested the pool paint out first, saw how dark it was, and then I could have picked up that paint yesterday when I was in town. I did not do this. So let's open up this pool paint, do a little test patch, and fingers crossed, it's okay. Definitely not the paint tin opening tool of choice, but that's what I have. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oops. Get out. Okay, I'm already messy. That's pretty dark. I don't know. I just don't know. So I've already given this thing a very good shake, but I have my professional standard stir stick here as well. So I'll give it a nice little stir. And so the instructions say to dilute the first layer a certain percentage. I'll need to double check what that is, with paint thinner, which I picked up yesterday. But for now, I just want to put a patch. I guess I'm going to put some on the dark spot and some on the light spot of my splash pool and see how they compare. Definitely bright. So I think the color overall is a lot darker and more vibrant than I was expecting. I don't know how it's going to dry. The good news is that for the most part, the stuff going over the dark part is the same as the stuff going over the light part. It's not perfect, but with 2 layers, I think it's going to be okay. I really hope this dries a lot lighter and less aggressively bright than the way it is now. It's definitely not the baby blue pool paint that I was hoping for, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So this is the stuff I've got. I'm going to stick with it, clean out the pool, get everything ready to go. So I don't know if this is going to work very well in the sun, and I don't know if I'll actually use it, but it won't hurt to make a line, I don't think. The laser level worked, but marking the line with a pencil doesn't seem like it's going to work too well. It's very difficult to see on the darker parts. Then I decided I'll get some tape and run it around the edge of the tank so that I can have a nice crisp line. But all of my tapes have fused together in the heat, so now they're all impossible to rip apart and use as tape. So that's not going to work either. So I'm just going to paint it, and it's going to end up however it ends up, and I'll do the finicky design final touches at some later future stage. I'm really eager to get this thing filled with water, and that means that I have to get this first layer on today and the second layer on tomorrow. So let's put the thinned layer on now, and hopefully things go okay. So I can already tell that this is going to be very slow and pretty frustrating, but it is satisfying to see the color changing, even though it's not the color I was expecting. So I'm going to just carry on with this and check in again when it's mostly finished, because I have this horrible fear that my camera is going to end up blue by the end of this, and I'd prefer if that didn't happen. So I'll see you guys again fairly soon. Okay, the first coat is done. It is very, very blue, and it's not the light blue that I had in mind when I bought the paint, but I think it'll grow on me. I think it's fine. It reminds me of the time where I accidentally painted my kitchen some color close to fluorescent yellow, and I grew to love that. It was definitely cheerful, and I feel the same about this. So, it's been a long road to get here, and I still have one more layer to do. But what I'm going to do is say goodbye from the video. I'm going to check in again in a couple of weeks with a mojito in my hand, sitting on some kind of stupid flotation device inside that pool, and I'm going to show you the final product. And I'll do it in the form of a recap video where I start at the very beginning, going through all the work that I've done, culminating in swimming pool mojito. So it's been a really hard, fun, challenging project where I've learned a lot, and I'm really hopeful that this thing holds water. We're going to find out in a couple of weeks. So thanks for watching. It's been a very long series. I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave me a comment with any questions, just to say hello, whatever. And I'll see you in the next video.